We have had 7 generations of Pokemon over the course of 20 years. With every new generation of Pokemon, we are introduced with 3 starter Pokemon, being a grass, water, and a fire type. Some of these Pokemon range from cute to fearsome, or even strong to weak. In the past, I did a top 5 strongest starter video. Today, I'm doing the opposite, pointing out which of these starters are actually the weakest. In terms of basing how these Pokemon rank, I'm going to be taking how well they do in the Smogon tier battling, because as usual, I don't know jack fat about VGC. I will also be judging them and how well they do in an in-game playthrough of their respective regions. And by the way, I'm not taking Mega Evolutions into consideration either. So Pokemon that are bad without their Mega Evolutions, it's time. Megas just make some of these starters broken, and it doesn't really make it fair to the starters without Mega Evolutions. But Mystic, in your strongest starter video, you did consider Mega Evolution. Yeah, I did, but that's the strongest I'm pointing out. What makes it strong is a Mega Evolution. Mega Evolutions make Pokemon strong. By removing Mega Evolution, you can really point out what starters are the weakest because they can't rely on anything to buff them up. Lucky for you guys, none of the Pokemon on the strongest starter list are going to be put on this list because the Pokemon I chose for that list were great even without their Mega Evolutions. So I still stand that they are the strongest starters even without their Mega Evolutions. But that being said, now since you guys know what's going on, you guys are now officially going to know what starter Pokemon are the weakest. Let's go. Starting off this list, we have the Fire Fox starter Delphox. Now, Delphox isn't at all the weakest starter, but I will say that it gets outclassed by a lot of other fire Pokemon, including the majority of the fire starters. Delphox used to be up in the RU tier way back in the early days of Generation 6, but now with new threats with Generation 7, it's no surprise that it dropped down. It's got a decent set of fire attacks and utility moves, but it's outclassed by so many more fire types. Its ability Magician, I feel, doesn't work well with Delphox due to it lacking defenses and HP. I mean, it has decent special attack, but I feel it needs an item like a Life Orb or a pair of Toy Specs to make it truly powerful. Having a turn without an item could all naturally mean the death of the poor thing. Its X and Y playthrough though, it does really well, but of course not as great as Greninja because that's the best starter. The Delphox line can do pretty good numbers to a majority of the gyms in Kalos and even to people like Wickstrom, so it's pretty good in game, but it is still pretty lackluster in the competitive scene. With that being said, it lacks defensive power, HP, move pool, and there are many more fire Pokemon that can do its job even better. Now, as much as I love Sceptile and everything about it, like its design and Mega Evolution, it honestly is one of the weakest starters without its Mega Evolution. It's got great special attack and speed, but its defenses and HP stats are actually fairly frail, making it even less valuable than a Glass Cannon. At least Glass Cannons can hit hard. Yeah, it has a great special attack stat, but the special moves it gets are mainly grass types. I would say the best coverage attack it gets that's special is Focus Blast, and that's a great attack and all, but the majority of its attacks are actually on the physical side. While 85 physical attack is decent, it still isn't as good as its base 105 special stats. I would say that one of Sceptile's best attributes is its hidden ability Unburden, and that doubles its speed when it loses an item. The odds of that happening can happen, but they're also really low. You're relying on a knockoff base attack that can cause the item to get knocked off. I guess you could try running Swords Dance and Unburden, but I feel it's just way too much work to set up. Plus, there are just better grass Pokemon out there for this job, and they even have better move pools. For in-game playthroughs though, Sceptile isn't that great in the Hoenn game, so this Pokemon lacks in both playthroughs and in the meta. As much as I love Sceptile's design, I gotta say, it's definitely one of the weaker starters. So now this is where I'm expecting to get the most hate, because this Pokemon is in the thumbnail too. Gen 1ers, get triggered. I welcome it. Charizard is trash. And I repeat, Charizard is trash without its Mega. Wanna know why? Stealth Rocks. Its Megas though are both excellent. Both Charizard Y and X are great. Even in the early days of competitive battling, Charizard wasn't all that great, only being a B tier Pokemon in Generation 2. It had access to Belly Drum, which could one-hit KO a lot of Pokemon, but it was still outclassed by Moltres and got outsped by Pokemon like Starmie. Ever since Stealth Rocks came out, this Pokemon by itself has just gone to the bottom of the barrel. As for playthroughs, it doesn't do great in any of the Gen 1 games, nor Fire Red and Leaf Green. Fire types just don't do all that great in Kanto. In X and Y, however, I guess it does do better because of its Megas, but that's because of its Megas. I acknowledge the fact that Charizard Y and X are both great, and they just really help Charizard in the span of competitive battling. But without its Megas, it's just terrible. It's got a pretty good move pool too for its Megas. Set up Dragon Dance on Charizard X and throw Solar Beam on for Charizard Y for its Drought ability. Its Megas are awesome. Even though I did talk all this smack about Charizard this time around, I will say though there is one thing I do like about it, and that is it's shiny. My god, is that shiny majestic. Oh, I love the fact that I get to bash this thing. I do not like Torterra, period. And it is one of the worst starters of all time. The biggest thing that makes this Pokemon so terrible is its bad speed stat. Isn't it just horrible? It's got 56! What is Torterra going to hit with that abysmal speed stat? Nothing. Torterra is just terrible because of its speed. Its move pool is okay and it looks decent on paper in a Sinnoh-type playthrough, but what's the speed hitting? It's this low on the list because of its speed. I don't think I need to really get much more in the detail than that. Meganium, I am so sorry. You're my favorite starter and I have to put you on this list. But you are in fact the worst starter. Let's face it, as cute as the Chikorita line looks, I think all of us have a general idea that Meganium just isn't a great starter. It does awful in its playthroughs of any of the Johto games because grass is just really bad for those games in general. Its competitiveness isn't all that useful because there are so many more Pokemon that outclass Meganium as a grass-type wall, for example, Ferrothorn. Meganium gets access to moves like Leech Seed and Aromatherapy, but like I said, there are Pokemon that can do its job much better as a utility user and as a wall. There are so many better Pokemon, in fact, that's why Meganium is considered as a PU Pokemon. A lot of these grass-type Pokemon too also get better coverage attacks, like for example with Tangrowth, it has access to Poison Jab. Meganium has literally nothing. Torterra has a better move pool than Meganium, and at least it can get a KO if it can land the hit. Meganium, as much as you're my favorite starter, I will acknowledge the fact that it is the worst starter of all the generations. I'm so sorry. Well, that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on what the worst starter Pokemon are. These starters just lack move pools, aren't really great in-game, and just don't have the viability that other Pokemon have. They just get outclassed by Pokemon that do their jobs better. What do you guys think though? Do you think these are the worst starter Pokemon? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch, where I stream a lot of Nintendo content such as Zelda, Fire Emblem, Mario, Splatoon, and even Dragon Ball FighterZ from time to time. Want to support me further and gain cool perks? Check out my Patreon. Kephius did, and I wanted to thank them personally for going above and beyond. It means the world to me. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mr. Gumbrown, and I will see you in the future for some more awesome Pokemon content.